the past couple of decades, from 1950 to 1990s, it was the first step. The first step was this knowledge creation, the misinterpretation, misrepresentation of the texts and verses and goddesses. So
Namaskar. Today's guest is Dr. Lavanya Vemsani, award-winning scholar and professor of history specializing in Indian history and religions. And she is currently at the Department of Social Sciences at the Shawnee State University, Portsmouth, Ohio. She holds 2 doctorates in the subjects of religious studies, one from McMaster University and history from the University of Hyderabad. She was awarded South Asia Council of the Canadian Asian Studies Association, SACA/CASA, Best Thesis Honorable Mention Prize for her PhD thesis at McMaster University. Her research and teaching interests are varied and multifold. She researches and publishes on subjects of ancient history and religions, as well as current history of India. Her books include Modern Hinduism in Text and Context, Krishna in History, Thought and Culture, Encyclopedia of Hindu Lord of Many Names, Hindu and Jain Mythology of Balarama. She is the editor-in-chief of American Journal of Indic Studies, managing editor of International Journal of Indic Studies, and editorial and review board member of Air Force Journal of Indo-Pacific Affairs, as well as Canadian Journal of History. Once again, namaskar and welcome. And let us start with, Dr. Lavanya, I'm sorry, I didn't even give you a chance to say hello to our viewers. The thing is, today, this Global Hindutva conference is really, really hot. A lot of stuff happening. And I just want to pick up from your tweet that you put out on September 3rd, and I quote, "Their triple attack on India and Hinduism. First, vilify sacred texts, gods. Second, vilify practices and festivals. And 3, vilify anyone who raises their voice as Hindutva or worse. Create a rule book on how to do these 3 activities globally to vilify Hindus systematically." And this seems to be the line of attack. Can you please touch upon all these 3 things and why this sudden obsession with Hinduism and Hindutva?
It is building up for some time. There is this vilification of Hinduism going on for some time, for a long time, but it has mounted in the recent years. So the first point that you said, vilification of the texts as well as gods, it was always done. But now that social media is active, it's coming out. It's coming out in the media as well as it's coming out in the social media. So the texts, of course, they are interpreted, misinterpreted, and we know how they call Rama and Sita and all kinds of names. It is coming out. It was built up. The knowledge was built up for a long time. Subject was created to misinterpret all these things. So goddesses, of course, goddess Durga and goddesses vilified, and festivals. You may have heard last year there was, of course, there was vilification of Indian festivals always in India as backward and all that. But recently on the campuses here, the celebration of Holi, there is a campaign against not celebrating it. So this is created for some time, but this is coming out now in the social media as well as in the practices. So the first thing of vilification of gods, goddesses, stories is already done in the academia. Books are written, lots of books are written vilifying gods, goddesses, stories, texts, everything. And now the vilification of festivals is being done. It's done already, and now it is coming out and it's being done on campuses. Of course, the third point of vilifying anyone who raises the voice. Anybody who talks against this type of activities are called Hindutva. and many other names, vilifying names. So this is also on the social media. They have done it publicly, called anyone that questioned these things as Hindutva, or on the campuses, anyone who works against these things. The students are also called Hindutva. So this is happening for quite some time. It has built up for quite some time, but it is picking up momentum in the last few years.
So up until now, till I think HAF and COHNA came along and started, putting their voice out in the campuses, this was allowed to exist. But when I went to college, which was some decades ago, there was no such thing. So when do you think this started? And is this part of the Breaking India project that Rajiv Malhotra ji mentioned, that this is another way that they want to weaken it?
Probably, but I see it as a continuation, though. The past couple of decades, from 1950 to 1990s, it was the first step. The first step was this knowledge creation, the misinterpretation, misrepresentation of the texts and verses and goddesses. So a lot of knowledge was created using these frameworks. And now I think it's coming into the public sphere. That's what I think. I don't think it was quiet at any time. The lot of books are written on the goddesses, gods, mostly in the 70s and 80s.
And just one book. One gentleman got one book banned in India, and look at the furore that created. It's just incredible how these people have ganged up together, and essentially they're peddling a lie. That is what hurts me most. I mean, Hindutva, Hinduism is one of the most tolerant religions, perhaps the only religion in existence today that says Sarva Dharma Samabhava. It says everybody's religion is the same. And the others don't want to accept that. And in turn, they want to attack the very fundamentals. Very, very, very sad. Now, I want to ask you on another tweet you put out on the 1st of September. It said that this Hindutva enterprise is not as simple as it looks. It is being weaponized to go after innocent Hindus as a group to isolate them. It is then easier to push them to the gallows. Their goal is to erase Hinduism, Hindus, third step following denial and confusion. Now, Dr. Lavanya, most of this driving, the funding is happening from the United States. That is established now. If you follow Maridas, Dr. Maridas, it's in Tamil, but he does a thorough professional PowerPoint presentation as to where the source, the fount of the funding is, with all data and everything. He has broken open the backside, what exactly is happening. Now, if you look at America as a country, right, the younger generation, even if they are Catholics or any other, the reason I'm using Catholics is that it's supposed to be more orthodox than others, more God-fearing. No one wants to go to churches. Nobody goes to church even twice a year. They used to be like Thanksgiving and Christmas. Even that is not happening. That is just to go and meet family. If you're married, you meet one in-laws on one event and the other in-laws on the other event. So that's all it has come down to. There is no following in terms of religion in America. I'm afraid America is becoming atheist. I'm not sure I want that either, because spirituality is an essential part of someone's life. That's a different topic. Let's not talk about this. So can you expand a little bit on this tweet of yours?
This tweet I put as a way to understand the large picture of what is happening. In reality, I see this as a large imperialist activity. I have seen this happen for a couple of decades now. A false narrative is created, and then a group of people are vilified. That's what is happening here. False narratives are created, and a group of people are vilified. When the group of people are vilified, it's very easy to attack them. It's very easy to perpetrate attacks on them. If you remember, there were attacks on Hindus, and the Hindu temple was burned. All these things happened following the 9/11. And in those days also it was there was a narrative that was being spread around about Hindu fanaticism, Hindu violence, and even Indian politicians at that time, they came on the TV and said Hindu violence is threat and all that. And there were attacks, real violent attacks on Hindus. And a temple was burnt down. People were actually surprised. Hindus in Canada were a very, very quiet, small minority in 2001. So they were very surprised. How did this happen? But there was a narrative that was being put on media, being put on showing Hindus as not to be trusted. That is what is happening now. Their practices are not to be trusted. They are not to be trusted. Their texts are not to be trusted. Their texts are not what they seem to be. Hinduism has very positivist, universalist attitude. But the universalist verses are interpreted to be not universalist. All the evidence that they show is fictional works. How can a sacred work be interpreted based on a fictional work? That never happens with other religious texts or other sacred texts. So it is happening. The process can be seen. The vilification of the text is done, vilification of the people is done, and attacks were perpetrated in the past. So if this continues, I really think it would have dangerous consequences.
So, as a general rule, the average American is very fair-minded, and in some ways, I would say innocent. And somehow there has been a fake narrative that has taken root, saying that many Americans are Islamophobic, and using this, they try to go after Hindus and attack Hindutva. So this is it's like a sideshow there, that this is also continuing, when we know that those people who are putting out this fake Islamophobic stuff, they are all basically belonging to a small group. This group has been identified, yet somehow I don't see any organization or any entity in India, in the United States, taking these people head on. I'm afraid that is something that I think is needed. This is my opinion. Please tell me how you feel that today or tomorrow, all our next generation children are going to go to college and they will not know what hit them. Because when we bring up our children, I'm stereotyping a little bit, of course, and I'm sorry if I'm not representing a particular family's mindset, is where we think is 5th grade onwards, everybody's focused towards SATs, this, that. You plan out the child's life up until the 12th grade, and then something happens, a lot of praying and everything. They get into a school and then go. But in this, many people don't have time for religion. It's a matter of fact. I'm not saying right or wrong. It's just that there is such a scheduled thing. So what is a generation to do now? At least those who have children in their younger 5, 6, 7 who are just starting school, I think their mindset has to change, in my opinion. What are your thoughts, Dr. Lavanya?
Right. Education is important. Knowing your roots is important. Of course, reading Western works are not going to help. So reading the original texts as available online, the Vedas are available, the Mahabharata is available, all the works are available online in translation. So reading the original works with your children is very important. So you know what is actually in the text. You don't have to depend on somebody's interpretations. So when you know what are the actual texts, and when you know what is in the books, you're not going to be confused or you're not going to be traumatized. So that is going to help the children when they go to college. But also parents have to be proactive because if this type of campaigns and this type of vilification continues, it's going to have grave repercussions for next generation. So parents have to come out and condemn these narratives. And of course, they have to educate their children, read the original text with them and all that. But on the other hand, they should also be active in condemning this kind of stories and false narratives that are being put forward. Very, very important.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lavanya. And we'll be back again to have perhaps more conversations with you as this thing plays out, because it is still a week before this event has happened and a lot is happening. In fact, the site is down right now. This is the fourth or fifth time I'm seeing that the site that is dismantlinghinduism.com is down again. And viewers, we have said this before. I've tweeted it out that Harvard has raised some serious objections, and UCSD, San Diego, University of California, San Diego, also has said that, this is not approved or anything like that. So after that, these guys have been, iteratively taking stuff out. But the last time it was up, I saw that it still said sponsors as Harvard and Stanford and UCSD and so on. I'm sure these universities will take notice, and they'll have to perhaps take action legally, because they are somehow trying to sneak these university names in. I hope Shawnee is not one of those who's doing it. But anyway, thank you.
None of the Ohio universities are on the list. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So thank you very much. And we'll be back again. Namaskar.
Namaskar.